Well, a very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you're watching us. Welcome to Herman Manyora's YouTube channel and welcome to another interesting episode of the Candid Talk. As usual, my name is Evan Sokinyi. Well, this morning I'm joined by the one and only political analyst and commentator, Professor Herman Manyora from the University of Nairobi. Prof, how are you?
I think I'm good.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You look smart.
Oh, yes.
Typical African.
Yeah.
Well, Prof, I would like us to engage in a conversation here that, of course, is intriguing as much as it's very important to the country here, the issue of food insecurity. And we've seen the government bring in a lot of steps, actually, or other efforts to curb this kind of problem. But first of all, make me understand this. Do you think that the government is doing enough to curb the problem of food insecurity in the country?
No. Government is doing nothing. If anything, is doing things in the negative. Yeah. I'm not seeing any effort from government.
Now, in the midst of all this, we've had, of course, the issues on GMO, the issue of maize importation. But let's begin from this, because all these culminate into what we call the ways of curbing the food insecurity in the country. There's been that scuffle involving the farmers and the Trade Cabinet Secretary, and of course, Moses Kuria never disappoints. Recently, he gave these farmers an ultimatum of 72 hours before the cabinet actually meets for them to sell their produce to the
including the one which is not harvested.
Yes. Yeah, actually, how do you think that he was right in doing this?
That's what I'm telling you. This government is doing nothing. This government has put in place very cheap fellows who cannot be trusted to do anything. If you give farmers 72 hours to sell a crop, but most of the crop is still on the farm, either in are they called stacks or stacks, or even yet to be cut to be put in stacks. Others are yet to be, what do you call it? What do you call it when you are moving from the cobs? There's an English word is lost. So we are still the farmers are still in the process of having the final product to sell. In fact, there are many parts of the North Rift where the crop is not even ready for harvest. Almost there, but not there. So if you give an ultimatum for 72 hours, this shows the kind of person you are.
And even of those ones which are already harvested, I understand that those conditions that must be met before it is taken to the
even there,
to
there's what we call moisture content.
The moisture content, yeah.
So why can't government start by providing drier facilities to farmers before then? Now that we have helped you, these are the dryers. Your maize is dry. From here, the dryer takes straight to, and even the farmers have a problem with the dryers because of it reduces the tonnage by far, by big margins. You take in 1,000 bags, you could end up with something as little as 700, 800 after drying. So they prefer natural drying, but also it can be assisted in some ways, but not this very commercial one that farmers don't seem to trust. So if government were to step in, bring the right dryers and give the farmers the right support, then you can. Do you give ultimatum or you give support? Farmers require support, not ultimatum. Yeah.
So the CS was actually wrong in giving this kind of ultimatum.
Certainly.
But Prof, don't you think that of course he was aware of what is taking place? Now, do we then see that kind of problem where we're going to see the importation of maize going to take place? Because he said that they should sell, failure to which they'll import maize, or rather they'll
But ask yourself, is it the trade ministry headed by Kuria that should be telling us how much maize we have in the country and the projected harvest, and therefore the shortfall which we are now importing in, bringing in? Or should it be the agriculture ministry headed by Linturi that should know the state of maize in terms of how much do we have, how much do we expect? Who should be telling us? Is it the trade ministry or agriculture ministry? That tells you this is a business. It's not the interest of the farmers or the country. They are being pushed by certain quarters to ensure maize imports land into this country. Forget about being GMO or not. Whether the maize is not GMO or not is not the issue. Of course, GMO is another matter altogether. But if you are bringing 10 million bags at the time the farmers are harvesting, and you are a trade ministry, and therefore you don't even know how much is going to be expected from farmers. the kind of people we are talking about. That's the kind of government we have in place now.
Now, leaving that aside, something just a little bit on the GMO that you've just touched on, it is seen as one of the ways of curbing the food insecurity, or rather the food crisis that we have in the country. Do you buy that idea that the GMO products that are being imported in the country will come in handy as far as solving the problem of food security in this country is concerned?
So if your children are hungry, you go and look for poison to give them. Because so long as wameshiba, wakule sumu wakufe. And Mkuria tells us much that you take this GM1 and die. It tells us.
But the scientists...
Government, first of all, I do not buy into the idea that we have such a shortage, not now. We have sufficient maize in the country to last us a long time, some sufficient time. Secondly, assuming we had a deficit, would you go to America to bring mahindi and farasi, maize meant for animals, or you'll go to Uganda here and get milk, maize? And then go to Tanzania and see if you can get a few more. Then go to Malawi and get a few more. Would you go high seas? Will you travel to America to get GMO maize for Kenyans if indeed there was a shortage? Why wouldn't you start with Uganda? Why don't you start with Tanzania? Why don't you go to Central Africa, here, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Malawi? They grow a lot of maize.
Are they trying to say that there is more into this than we are seeing?
Of course, this is an invisible land. Guys are pushing us to have GMO maize. It's obvious. It's just an obvious game. It's not about helping Kenyans get... In any case, I do not understand how this government expects to survive in the coming days if they are going to frustrate farmers. And the people in North Rift have provided the president with the support he needed to become president. Then what? You give them a black-handed, back-sided slap. You slap them instead of saying thank you. Because this maize is going to destabilize the prices in the North Rift. Guys have. That's why the MPs are taking risks, are willing to speak against government. They are even challenging MPs. They are beginning to speak because farmers are going to suffer. And what is happening is deliberate on the part of government, if you may ask me. Maybe I'm wrong. The government wants to frustrate the farmers so that next time there will be less harvest from the farmer and therefore more need to import. And the next following year, no farmer will be willing to plant their crops because it will be a waste of time. And finally, the people from America and the rest will have achieved what they wanted. They will flood the country with GMO maize. Okay, so initially Kenyans will celebrate, the prices will go down. But with the damage that GMO causes, it means even if you want to do farming, you cannot do farming. For two reasons: they will have interfered with the genetic makeup of other seeds and they will not grow. But even if you get their GMO, and this I want to tell farmers, assuming you want to join them, you can't beat them. So you also want to do GMO farming. You will not succeed to compete because once GMO farming comes in this country, maize is now going to move from small holder production, which we have in this country, to large scale production. Because maize has not been profitable. And therefore the big boys don't do maize. But with GMO and the bumper harvest expected from GMO, the big boys will now join maize farming. And they are going to be doing 10,000 acres, 5,000 acres, 2,000 acres. Enjoying the economies of scale, the amount of money they would spend to produce one bag, no farmer in the North Rift can compete with them. So this is doom. I'm sorry to be a prophet of doom, but this is doom to the farmer. It's good for Kenya, so that one time, in the future, they should learn to listen when they are told, listen to people carefully when they come for votes. But you know there are consequences.
Well put there by Professor Herman. Now, Prof, another issue that is actually happening here, of course, we've seen a number of farmers being accused of hoarding maize, and of course, a number of them have as well downplayed those kind of allegations. Do you think that perhaps these farmers could be perhaps participating in such, and what could be the consequences?
Who is hoarding maize? Maize has been going for 6,000. Naturally, when there is harvest, it has to come to 5,000. No farmer in his right mind thinks it can go higher than that. And at 5,000 shillings, 4,800, you have your profit. You made it. There's no loss. Fertilizer was expensive, granted 6,000 to 7,000 per bag. But if you did 10 acres and you used 120,000 shillings on fertilizer, 2 bags, but then another for maybe now 200,000. And then you did seeds and you sell at 5,000 at 10. That's 500,000 shillings. So even if you remove all those things, on your 10 acres, you can make 200,000 shillings profit. That's not bad money. And you have food in the house, 300,000 shillings. So farmers have no problem with the price as it is now. So there's no hoarding. Farmers are still processing the maize for sale.
Of course, we saw that statement made by Kimani Ichung'wah.
Why can the minister, Mbona waziri asipande ndege? Why can he take a helicopter? And Atona maize is still in the farms. Come on. This is kidding. And you cannot be a minister in a serious country and talk the way they are talking. You can't give people 72 hours to sell their maize and the maize is still in the shamba.
Okay.
Or still being held, whatever it's called. Yeah.
Now, finally, Prof, talk to me about the government's idea of asking Kenyans, or rather requesting Kenyans to contribute via Paybill in order to contribute a percentage of their salary to help mitigate the...
Who can contribute their money when they know when the money is going to be, with the people like Moses Kuria in charge of government, who can contribute their money? Because Kenyans know it's just poor government policy. Haphazard management of public affairs that is responsible for the mess. So if there was a genuine problem, Kenyans would understand. And Kenyans always look out for each other. Kenyans have supported other Kenyans. But this time you cannot convince the Kenyan because they don't see the problem. They see the government as a problem. If government is problem, how do you support government when the government is problem? So I don't think that can... But that's why people are just laughing it off.
Can that idea perhaps come in handy in helping?
No, I don't think people can listen to that.
Then finally, now tell us, what's your idea about what are some of the long-term measures that can be taken by this government to ensure that food insecurity is buried forever in this country?
One word, seriousness. The government just ought to be serious. We are not even half serious with what we do. First of all, you cannot solve the food crisis in this problem until you've solved the land question. Where is our arable land? Before we talk of agriculture, rain-fed agriculture, dams like the president is saying, before you talk about dams, where is the land where you don't even need irrigation? We have lots of land, millions of acres, where you don't need any water to grow maize. Who has that land? What is he doing with that land? Who produces seed for profit? Why can't government just produce seeds at the cost of 5-10 billion shillings and give farmers quality feed, chasing away all the brokers and conmen who are bringing substandard seeds? So this is the seriousness the government should do. How do you support the farmer during harvest like this to avoid loss? You know, you lose a lot of crop because of rain and lack of drying and simple things. How do you help farmers with the marketing so that they are encouraged to grow crop next year? So now, instead of encouraging the farmer who has maize, you are bringing maize from outside. If he had planted 100 acres, next year he will plant only 50 because of disappointment. You see? So it's just a question of government being serious and not go into money-making schemes like dams. Dams are money-making schemes. Kenyans don't need dams now. We have enough land where you can grow food, grow maize without, there's too much rain. In fact, the rain is so much, you are wondering what to do with the rain. And they are talking to us about dams because there are billions of money there to eat. Not that Kenyans need the dams. No. The people in government want to eat money and then they introduce dams. In a country with sufficient rainfall, with arable land that we don't care who has that land. Does he need that land? There are people in this land with 50, 30, 40, 100,000 acres of land. They have never used the land for the last 20, 30 years. And then you talk of hunger. You start by saying, let's have a law in parliament. If you have land of a certain acreage, which you are not using, we shall tax you. So you'll be forced either to use it or sell it, or lease it out to people who will grow crops for Kenyans. But we allow people to hold land for prestige, which anyway, the most of it is stole. So somebody has 80,000 acres holding it for prestige or speculation, and you are saying you are hungry. So the solution to you is to bring GMO. You can now see how our leaders are. They're not serious. I pray for them that one day God may touch them somewhere. So that if God touches these people, they will know the blunders they are making today will destroy this country in future. That their children and the children of their children will not find a country. If you destroy the biodiversity of a country by playing to the whims and the greed of Western powers, of multinationals who want to destroy our biodiversity by bringing GMOs for profit, then history will judge you very harshly. Yeah.
Well, that is well and genuinely put by Professor Herman Manyora here, talking about very important issues. I hope that the government will listen to some of these things that we do say in these important conversations. And of course, we do hope that our conversations here will influence some of the government decisions, because they come from definitely one of the best in Africa and in the globe. Thank you till we have this conversation again. Have yourself a very lovely day.